There was a 3-day CrewAI event this week, and I'm going to go over the parts of each of those days that I thought you should know. A lot of things are talked about, such as use cases, pros, cons, different types of AI agents, and the new product they're coming out with, CrewAI Enterprise. Let's review. Okay, so here we just went over AI agents really quick. I'm not going to have you can go over all this again, but we have the LLM, such as you can use OpenAI. You can get tasks for the agents. You can have them use tools, and then finally spit out an answer.
It's happening in here. I'd like to cache it, because what happens if my agents are calling the same tool over and over? Like, I don't want to run out of requests or hit rate limits or whatever. And then you're like, well, I also don't want my agents to hallucinate and to give me a random answer, and that becomes a problem as well. And then you're like, well, I also want to give some limitations. Like, I wanted these agents to only do maybe 2 or 3 or 5 requests at a time before they actually give me an answer. Or you can do a time limitation. So what you quickly realize is that a bunch of the things pop up. So again, just to name a few: cache, guardrails. Yes, all right. So you got a cache, you got guardrails, you got a memory, and then once you start having multiple agents.
This is day 1, and his video quality wasn't the best. It improves on day 2 and 3.
Questions, and not only that, but you want these multiple agents now to be able to share that. So you want the memory to be shared, you want the caching to be shared. So now you need to basically think about all this. So where I'm getting is, things can get quite complex once that you get to this stage, and we're not even talking about how you orchestrate the agents, especially if you're doing it in parallel or organic. The one, not organic, parallel or hierarchically. But the one thing that I think we got in Crew that I think is so good is that we made it that simple for you to build these things. And honestly, this is the thing that I like the most about Crew. I got very inspired by other frameworks that I worked in the past, things like Ruby on Rails and all that, and some of their ideas of conventions over configuration in order to bring some of that into CrewAI, and that has proven to be very helpful. All right, so you folks understand what agents are.
Basically, what he's trying to get at is, you might think of just building a simple AI agent. So use OpenAI. They have documentation where you can just create a simple AI agent that goes and retrieves a completion and returns, then it prints out the response for you. But then you have to worry about things such as, do you need to cache anything? Does this need to delegate to another, agent, or do you need to kind of ask it another question? It goes on, do you need short-term, long-term memory? Guardrails, is there any security that is involved? And this isn't even creating a framework yet. He's just saying, there are more things you need to consider whenever you actually create an AI agent. So it does get complex, which is why these AI agent frameworks are really helpful, because it kind of gets rid of the complexity through the framework, which is why frameworks are great, because they get asked, why do you use a framework? Just create your own. And you can absolutely do that. No, you absolutely can, but there are more things to consider than, you may think initially.
Important is because in the context of automations, if you think about how you automated things in the past, especially in companies, it was using something called RPA, robotic process automation. And that, when people got to know about that, people got very excited. But it fell short under the promises that it made, because it was very brittle. So if a button changed at a place, it didn't work anymore. If a process changed a little bit or slightly, then the automation didn't work anymore. And with agents, you don't see that. Because if they basically hit at that end, they can retry something. All right, so we're talking about AI agents. I think everyone caught up on what AI agents is.
Okay, that was kind of important. I know, I'm kind of skipping through the summaries or through this whole video, because again, there's 3-hour-long videos. We're not gonna go through all of it, but he's talked about RPA really quick, robotic processing automation, and basically what he's saying is you can have that, and that was a thing, right? RPAs were, they really helped out with automation. However, the problem is if something small, something very minute changed, you had to update the RPA to accommodate that. And, especially whenever you're maybe web scraping or things like that, or if the software changes location of a button or whatever that may be, right? Things change a lot, but with AI agents, they can self-heal. They can deal with that themselves without us necessarily having to go in and tell it, hey, this changed location on the screen. Now this is where you need to click, whatever it is. The power with AI agents is we don't need to worry about that anymore. They are a step above RPA.
I want to talk about some things. So 4 things that need to happen for this future of AI agents to become a reality, in my opinion. 1, needs to be production ready. So whatever platform you're using, whatever tool you're using, or even if you're building something yourself internally, whatever you do needs to be production ready. And what I mean by that is not like, oh, it needs to have tests. No, no, no. It needs to run on multiple clouds. It needs to offer a level of control, a very fine-grained control, so you can say who get access to what. It needs to have a way for one person to kind of like register what are the approved vendors, what is the approved LLM provider, what is the approved tools to be used. So all that, it's not even AI features. Like those are like traditional enterprise features that allow enterprises to actually adopt technology. So if those things are not in there, there's no way that companies can actually adopt this. Then I think also whatever platform that helps companies basically fulfill this vision needs to be also universal. And universal here is people don't want to get vendor locked, right? We all saw, for example, a few months ago, or maybe a year or two ago, when a big Fortune 500 company basically spent millions of dollars fine-tune GPT 3.5 just so that GPT-4 would be launched and would be better than their fine-tune without any training, without any fine-tuning. So it's kind of like insane to see that because the tech is moving so fast, you actually.
It's kind of a crazy story, right? I don't know what that company is. But when he talked about that, is when 3.5 Turbo was at the peak OpenAI AI model, that somebody spent all this money probably to fine tune based on their data, and to be able to recognize their data, and then whenever they trained it, it could retrieve whatever it may be they done with their data. But then 4.0 or whatever the next one, I think probably just 4 came out. It already did better without even fine-tuning the model. It already performed better than their fine-tuned 3.5 Turbo model. And so he's saying, being vendor locked, they probably did something to have that locally, or just hosted somehow with just their data, so it wasn't sent out. Which I don't know how they did that, if they did. But either way, the point is, in order to make something production ready, you do need to not be vendor locked, because now, as we know, there are so many companies that are improving, and it depends on your need, right? OpenAI is great. They have one of the better models, but is it the best at what your company needs it for, right? And so another thing with production ready is it does need to be self-hosted. The bullet point there he has for production ready, those are things that aren't necessarily even AI related. Like he said, these are the traditional things that you need to have something ready for production. Right, so fine-grained control. You need to worry about security. Is it self-hosted, because your data is private? And if you have customers' data, they need to be ensured that it's not going anywhere else. It's staying within the company. And now he's about to go into the levels of AI agents, which I thought was really interesting. So we're going to go ahead and watch that.
I think has an unfair advantage because we move fast, and we need to keep moving fast because the market's moving even faster. So, all right, these are the 4 checklists. Then if you look at what we have today, these are kind of like the levels of automations that we have, right? You have kind of like traditional rule-based automation, and this is more traditional RPA, for example. Then you have kind of something that is a little better, where you have kind of like some rules mixed with Gen AI. And this is where you have like graph-based automations or node-based automations, kind of like that if this, then that, kind of like automation. And you can have some Gen AI here and there, but it feels like it's very rigid, right? It's very rigid. You may have like some control here and there, but that kind of like it doesn't have the agency, so it's not an agent. And then if you look at here, you say like, all right, you have complex LLMs now with OpenAI O1 Preview, and I did a few tests with it. I gotta say it's pretty good, and already works with CrewAI, so you can already use O1 Preview. Even though I wouldn't recommend, the results are amazing, the quality is so good, but it uses too many tokens that take too long. So probably like a couple versions away from being something that you can deploy for agentic use cases. Then on level 4, you have kind of like where I believe CrewAI is right now, where you have multi-agents, and where you have this ability of flows, where you can use the flows to connect multi-agents together and connect one thing to the other. So that is very exciting. And I think, and where we want to go, at least with CrewAI, is I want to go to level 5, where it's fully autonomous, right? Where now you can have your agents basically, you don't need to give specific tasks. You don't even need to define your agents. Basically, they alone can understand and figure out themselves what are the agents that they should be, what are the tasks that they should be, and kind of like self-organize. I think it's a little too early for that. We are doing some experiments internally, but I think like whenever we get it here, things are going to get pretty pretty insane. I see a few questions asking.
Okay, so the level 4, which is kind of where you're saying CrewAI is right now, where you have the multi-agent frameworks basically, and they use something called flows, which is a new feature. But I've also talked about AutoGen a lot before, and they are probably here right now. Also, they also have like a nested chat, a sequential chat that kind of is somewhat similar, right? The nested chat especially, they just call things differently, and the framework it's executed differently, but level 4 is kind of where we are right now. Autonomous might be a little scary, I don't know, but yeah, right now being able to use all these different agents, is quite a step above where you just had traditional RPA, which you had to give it strict, he calls it rules, instructions, whatever, strict rules on what it can do for whatever software or whatever part of the screen, whatever it may be. We have far surpassed that, and we are at a state where you really need to use AI agents. I mean, it's so powerful. Okay, now we're going to get ready to go into the platform, which I had mentioned in the intro, and it's called CrewAI Enterprise.
Let's go into the platform real quick. And again, this is local environment, so bear with me. Hopefully it works first time. There's a few things that might be broken in my local environment. There's been a lot of building and not a lot of sleep, but I think it's going to be very good. All right. So in here, you're seeing some of the features. There's a lot of things that are heavily gated in here. I can show you the production version in a second, and you're going to see there's more things going on in there. But the first thing that you're going to notice is the ability for you to deploy your agents, either from GitHub, or you can also do from basically a zip file if you're not using GitHub. Once that you deploy them, you can see them in here, and they become an API. And this API is production ready. What I mean by that is, for the more technical people out there, this is private VPC with SSL, with auto scaling, bear token, like most of the things that you would want. From here, you could actually come in here and export a React component, and we're going to actually allow you to basically export an entire UI and host a UI in here. Before I go into specifics, let me show you what you want to see, and that is Crew Studio. So Crew Studio is a way for you to build agents with no code. And honestly, I love it. I use it all the time. So the way that it works is you can start by chatting. We put a lot of thought into this, where you start by chatting with Crew in order to create your agents. And then as you get more comfortable with what you're building, you can basically graduate into more complex UI. And you can see how this is way more approachable for people that are non-technical, and way easier and faster for people that are non-technical than just jumping straight into a more complex no-code UI. So in here, for example, let's say, I don't know, let's start with something simple. All right, I'm going to do something that simple, right? Like we can get more complex ones. Let's do create a crew that is able of creating blog posts for CrewAI whenever we could a new version based on the release notes I can share with the crew. There we go. So kind of like a simple use case. I have tried some like way more complex stuff and they work fine. Maybe they're in production. I can go into production and show you some of that. Let me see if I can actually load production here while this go.
So this is interesting, right? He's actually creating not just, I mean, this isn't just talking to a crew assistant agent and saying, hey, what's 2 + 2? What's the top Google search for whatever? But no, the idea is that he's going to actually create a whole crew, and it's going to create the agents to help build, what he wants to do about creating blog posts, which is really interesting, and something called Crew Studio, which is, as he said, something he loves, but it's a main part of CrewAI Enterprise.
Oh, boom. All right. Let me go for production real quick so that I can show you that. Give you this table-like UI. In this table-like UI, it's kind of like a step up from talking with some reporters. I need you to help me research all their latest posts, their content, do a full analysis. I basically to understand their perspective on tech, AI agents, anything that might be relevant for my interview. Then it kind of creates a plan for me.
This is one he did in the production CrewAI Enterprise, not local.
Agents is their tasks. I asked it to change a little bit. It updates basically the plan. And once that gets to this stage and you feel good about it, you're like, all right, now I understand what I'm doing. So you can actually click on Generate Crew Plan, and it's going to give you this table-like UI. In this table-like UI, it's kind of like a step up from only chatting. but you can still changing things. You can come in here to like, all right, this is not a senior, this is going to be like something else in here. So you can keep changing your agents now in a little bit more complex UI, but nothing crazy because you already understand what is going on. You know what the plan is. And once this feels good, you can click on create crew, and then you go for a more node-like UI. In this node-like UI, you can actually get a more technical in here, and you can start do things asynchronously if you want to, and you can basically update your tasks, you can update your agents, your tools, you can look at all your agents in here, you can update the models that they're using. So there's a lot that can go in here, and then you download the code if you want to, or you deploy it right away. And this is pretty good because the ability to deploy the code, to download the code for me is great, because this means that I'm okay writing code. I can basically use this to step up, do super fast crew, and then export it and take on from the code. So this helps me basically build so much faster.
I mean, that's really powerful, right? So what it did is it lets you kind of modify what it thought was the plan for the crew. So it went through all the steps: what are the agents, what are the tasks, what are the expected outputs, blah, 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 everything else. And then you can still modify it in the UI, right? Which was really awesome. And then once you are good on it, he generated the crew, it created the crew, and you can either deploy it through their CrewAI Enterprise, or you can actually download the code. So if you're a developer like I am, you can download the code. You have the whole crew. Now it's ready. You don't have to do anything with it to run it, but you can also modify it however you want to. Now that you actually have the code for this crew that it created for you. I thought that was really awesome. I mean, at least I thought it was, and really powerful. Okay, so to just catch you up, this is now day 2 with the CrewAI Enterprise. They're saying with CrewAI, just what I've been showing you in my tutorials, or maybe probably what you've been using, you can plan and build your crew. But now with CrewAI Enterprise, you can now deploy, monitor, and iterate over your crew, whether that's training or whatever else that they offer. Now it's just saying it encompasses all of that.
Oh, one thing, I don't know if you folks saw that, but now there's people hiring for CrewAI. I'm very excited about this. Amazon is actually hiring for CrewAI. There's an open position in there. And Cloudflare also has an open position on CrewAI. So there's like more and more. And also now there is HubSpot. HubSpot also hiring for CrewAI. So you can actually like find positions now that require you to kind of like know CrewAI, and that has been very interesting. I'm seeing some questions in here.
By the way, I just wanted to show you that because that was very interesting to me, that AI agents are, besides the fact that they are, CrewAI has actually just recently partnered with IBM, right, with their Watson X AI, that there's actually people like looking to hire somebody with expertise in, well, Amazon is AutoGen CrewAI or ChatDev. ChatDev, I don't know why they would. I mean, I'm not trying to downplay ChatDev. It was the very first one that I looked at, but they're actually hiring people to understand these frameworks. And if you look on the right-hand side for Cloudflare, they have LangChain, Llama Index, and CrewAI. Just thought that was interesting. Wanted to let you know. So now, what is he always saying? This manufacturing company, he built 4 agents. I'll skip a little bit, but he's building 4 agents because this is what they said they need to do. And this is kind of what we need to think about, right? What is the time spent on something that might take you too much time, that you feel that can be automated? A lot of things probably can be, but he says he's being conservative. So let's say it took them 30 minutes to do this, and then we're going to find out after you create these agents how much time this saved. And even if it's 15 minutes, right? If you have to do that every day and something takes you but a crew or AI can do it in like a minute, think about that. 15 minutes every day, say 5-day work week, that's an hour and 15 minutes. Instead, it can take you 5 minutes, freeing you up all this time.
2,500 hours. Because if every time saves like half an hour, they're saving 2,500 hours when doing this. This crew, and this was like a while ago. GPT-4o was not around. People were still using GPT-4 Turbo back then, and this was basically costing them for running 5,000 times, $2,553.15. That's how many dollars we're paying to OpenAI. And again, this was using GPT-4 Turbo. What is a very expensive model, by the way? GPT-4o, way cheaper nowadays. 4o mini, then don't even get me started on that. So there you go. Here you can see how much you're paying for this. You might find this expensive because they would basically have someone spend hours on this, doing this thing, and kind of like trying to like analyze this data live. And that, assuming that it takes 30 minutes, that was costing them over $60,000 per month.
But the time saved per month was 2,500 hours. and then it only cost $2,500 compared to $60,000. So not only was it time, it was also money that was saved at this manufacturing plant by using a multi-agent framework to do what they needed. Absolutely crazy.
Had a blog post about it, saying how CrewAI now lets you build a fleet of enterprise AI agents. So in order for us to get this out there, I had to do interviews. And in the process of doing interviews, you meet with a reporter that will have all these questions, and you have to do some prep. And I have been very busy, so I didn't have much time to prep. So I actually decided to use a crew for that. And I was able to do the whole thing super fast. So let me show you this. This is the platform, by the way, for the people that didn't see it yesterday. I'm going to show you a few features now that I didn't show yesterday. So I was like, I need to be able, audio is not great. Let me do this. It's going to work better. There we go. I said, all right, I need to be able to create a crew that can analyze these reporters for me. So I went into Crew Studio and I chatted my way into an automation. I was like, all right, help me create a crew that, given a reporter's name, it researches the web for all their latest posts and content and do a full analysis on them. I need to understand their perspective on tech, on AI agents, and anything else that might be relevant for the interview they're going to do with me. The interview is going to be about CrewAI. I'm the founder. All right. So I basically told this. Then the Crew Assistant kind of like takes on, it suggests me a few things. I ask to change a few others, and it gives me a plan. It's like, all right, this is your plan. You're going to have an output that is a comprehensive analysis on the report's recent posts with the focus on their views on technology and AI. And you're gonna have one input, and that input will be the reporter's name. And you have three agents: a research, an analysis agent, a summary agent. Here is like the tasks. So it's going to use the separate dev tool. So it already knows the tools that it has available, and you can like add custom ones to it as well. So it knows that it already has that. Extract the teams and the perspectives and compile them into analysis. Then I clicked on generate a crew plan, and it gave me this plan. Basically, my agents, my tasks, everything is in here. I can keep changing. I can say, oh, this is going to be a senior summary composer, and that gets reflected. And then I was like, all right, this took me like 2 minutes, and I click on create crew. Then after that, it takes me to this UI right here where I was able to change a few things. Basically, you get to select the tools, make sure that everything is all right. You can change a few things on the agents. You can select what model you will be using. In this account, I only have OpenAI models. So I say, all right, I want to use GPT-4o mini. And then I basically went ahead and click on deploy. And when I click on deploy, it created the crew for me and put it online right away. And this is the crew: reporter insights, crew creation. So in here, I have been searching for these reporters as I talk with them. You can see this was the last one that I chatted with, and I basically get to see during the. I'm going to show you a few different things, so bear with me. I was able to basically come in here and see like, all right, what is this reporter like vibe? What is their like her takes on things? And I can see it provides a comprehensive and nuanced perspective on integration with technology, particularly AI education, media narratives and AI and human creativity, business application of AI, ethics expectations. In summary, yes, it seems to recognize UI as a dual-edged sword, offering significant opportunities and advancements while necessitating a critical examination of its social impact. So that's great. This gives me all the information that I need to jump into that. And they're like, wow, maybe I should talk about the ethics behind it.
Okay, so this is starting day 3 now. This is pretty cool that they basically mentioned that Andrew Ng, they created a new course with him for practical multi-AI agents and advanced use cases with CrewAI. I mean, it's Andrew Ng, right? So they got with him. Not only that, if you read a little bit further down, it says disclosure, I made a small seed investment in CrewAI, and Joe's going to talk about that.
Saw this. Let me know if you did in the chat. I'm very curious if you see this or not. And we have a new course with the one and only Andrew Yang. I hope you catch this news this morning. We basically posted a few hours ago, and it's very excited. And I want to focus on certain aspects of like what we share today and of this course, because I think this course is very interesting, and I'm very excited about this in general. One, it's free, so anyone can check it out. And I love that, because at the end of the day, open source is a big part of what we do. We love it, and this helps people to adopt open source better. So I'm going to show you the link for it so that you can sign up. It's on Deep Learning AI's website. I'm going to show you. It's pretty straightforward. Meanwhile, I want to talk about a few things. One, if you read this, it's not.
How can you not be excited if he is an investor in your company? Thought that I wanted to share with you. Thought that was amazing. And this course, you can also use. You can also go ahead and complete as well. And I have that in the description, like I mentioned. So I'm going to skip ahead here because I think this is also something that we need to realize, and some people probably have questions about this, is security and privacy within the company with your employees, right? So let's say you're hiring somebody, you don't want them to have access to everything right away.
For example, a big thing with enterprises is how you give access to people, right? You want to make sure that everyone has the appropriate level of access. For example, you can set up environment variables for your company, and you can set up LLM connections for your company, but you don't want anyone to come in here and actually learn like, oh, these are the API keys. You don't want the API keys to be leaking out there. So we actually spend a lot of time thinking about this because I have built enterprise software in the past, and our team has built enterprise software in the past. So we built a very complex role system that allows you to give individual access to individual features. Again, I know this is not sexy and this is not necessarily AI, but this is fundamental for you to deploy this into a company and not have your keys leak everywhere, right? You don't want that. No one wants that. And then it's not only that. There's more features that I didn't show you. Yes, there's a lot of compliance and security, 100%. That's a big thing. You also want to be able to set defaults, right? Especially for non-technical people, because CrewAI allow you to basically give access to non-technical people to build AI agents. You want to make sure that people are not like getting access to all the.
Yeah, so this is what I mean. Like it's you want to be able to organize control because if you let's say use maybe Anthropic, Google, OpenAI, what if you aren't able to use them based on the data that you're getting from whatever company you're partnering with, whatever it may be. It doesn't matter. It's just the fact that you kind of have to gatekeep a little bit what somebody maybe new coming in the company can do because they don't understand what you're trying to do yet. They might do something that is a security issue, right? You don't want to have those issues. You don't want to have everybody just have all the access. Not saying somebody will do something malicious, but it could be by accident and they just don't understand what they did, right? And that could be a whole different scenario for your company if you let some data out to a company that you weren't signed for. But just in case you were curious about it, they are going to have like roles for your enterprise. And now he's going to talk about templates, which I think are pretty cool. That also with CrewAI
cannot use these things. And honestly, there's a lot of people trying to cut corners out there, and this makes a huge difference. We actually have a new billing menu as well, so you can see like some of your expense in there and all that. All right. The other thing, templates. We are a platform, so we allow you to build a lot of things, right? You can build any of the use cases that we're talking about, and so many more. There's so many use cases. But there is also the ability for you to build on top of something that we have already done. So in here, you have a bunch of templates that we are giving for everyone to use from the get-go. And the only way that you can get access to these templates is by going through the platform. These are not open source. You can download them and you can use them, but they're not open source. You need to create an account for you to use them. And you can create a free account. You don't need to pay. You can create a free account and then you can get access to them. But they are in here, so it's better for us to basically control them. So in here, you can come on and like kind of download and you can get access to the code right away. And basically you can modify this online in any way that you want. Or you can actually deploy it. And if you click on deploy, and you can see there are a few in here for Zendesk integrations, there are a few in here for sales offers, there's a few here for personalized outreach, there's a few here to monitor when someone is changing jobs. This is very interesting signal for sales and marketing. They're here for you to check if there's a fraudulent transaction. So there's all these things. There's meeting preparation, one that I use very often. So these are kind of like more simple but easy for you to get it going. They need to be more generic, right? We can do something very specific, but we want to make sure that it gives you an initial base to get value from this as soon as possible. And another thing that I didn't show last few days is a lot of agents is about custom tools, right? How do you do integration so their agents can call your internal systems, and that can be your ERP, that can be your CRM, that can be a database. There's a lot that you can do in there. So what you can do is we have now an internal repository of tools. So what this means is that you can create a tool locally in your computer, and you can now push this tool into CrewAI Enterprise. So let's say that you build a tool that connects with your RAG database or connects with your CRM. You are going to push this tool into CrewAI Enterprise, and everyone in your company are going to have access to that. Or you can actually control. Once that you have some tools, unfortunately, I don't have one in here, you can also control individual business units or individual roles that are going to have access to each tool. And that's important for two things. Not only because engineers are going to be able to use this repository to build like their crews locally and deploy them, but also because non-technical people are going to be able to use those tools when building agents with Crew Studio. And I'm very excited about this because these allow you, for example, create a tool that integrates with HubSpot. And now someone on your marketing team
can come in here and can actually create a group of AI agents to do an automation, and that will automatically pick it up that tool and use it.
So that's it, right? So a lot of this has to do with not just non-technical people, but also non-technical. So if I'm a developer, I create a tool that a lot of people need, so that any non-technical people can then create crews and just say, hey, I need this tool for this agent to perform this task, and it does it, right? And so this is a way that, you can create tools for everybody, within your company. Thought this was a really cool idea to think of. Thank you for watching, and tell me what you think in the comments down below. Here's some more videos for you to watch, and I have an 8-day CrewAI series that I just released last week. That will be in the description below for you to watch in case you haven't done anything with the CrewAI agentic framework yet. Thanks again. I'll see you next video.